major step forward in getting us to understand what the William Bell character is going to be in this series, and then we'll see where it goes.
Well, and actually I do have questions on Fringe because that's why I got to do this panel, because my track does that. So how did Fringe come about? I mean, I'm assuming...
Mr. J.J. Abrams, who directed Star Trek, the Star Trek movie, and who I have a lot of respect for, called me and said, we have this TV show. Right. And there's this character that's been talked about, kind of a mysterious character, so very powerful, and very kind of a cross between Albert Einstein and I don't know, maybe the richest man in the world, whoever that might, Bill Gates or somebody. And we'd sure enjoy it if you would consider doing this. And I have a lot of respect for him and his writers, and Bob Orsi and Alex Kurtzman, who did the Star Trek movie. I think they're very talented people, very creative people. And I don't think there's much else that would have pulled me out of my home life. But for this situation, I decided I'll take a chance with them and go for the ride. And I'm happy I did it. I think it's going to work out well.
It's an amazing show.
Yeah.
Loving it so far. Yeah. Now, Dr. Bell was in one episode. Right now slated for 4 episodes this season?
I did that one episode, which was the final episode of last season,
right,
where I simply came on and said, I'm William Bell. And, I'm William Bell. And we've done the one more so far that I just described, which we shot about 4 or 5 weeks ago, 5 or 6 weeks ago. I lost track of time. And I'm going to do one more, at least one more, and then we'll see how it goes.
Okay, yeah. That's good. So, going into other TV work, one of my favorite shows was In Search Of, for years and years. I loved In Search Of. And what brought you into working on In Search Of?
The subject matter intrigued me, and I was very surprised at the great success of the show. I thought that with the number of titles that were available to us, we could deal with Bigfoot, and then we could do a Bigfoot story, and then we could do a story about Bigfoot. Then we could do about a possible sighting of Bigfoot.
That's half the season right there.
Yeah, right. But it got to be an interesting variety of title ideas. Telepathy and hypnosis and lost civilizations and ancient mysteries and so forth. But I thought we'd go maybe 2 or 3 seasons. I was really pleasantly surprised when we went 7 seasons with that. We did 144 episodes of that series. People are fascinated by that subject matter, as I was. I don't think we solved an awful lot of mysteries, but we explored a lot of mysteries. And I think the show was well done. And I was happy with it.
I think it's probably what kept me and maybe a lot of other people here thinking about these things.
Yeah.
It's something that's always brought. And you said you'd always been interested. Do you remember how did you become interested in those gory mysteries?
Just naturally. I found myself interested in science fiction and these mysteries as a kid. When I was a kid, I was reading books called the Tom Swift stories. And they were about Tom Swift going on these amazing adventures, doing these interesting things. I just had a tendency to be interested in those things. My very first job in California, when I went to Hollywood, was in this amazing project, which I thought was going to rocket me to stardom, if you pardon the expression. Didn't quite get there, and I can't understand why. It was an amazing project called Zombies of the Stratosphere. And I was the 3rd zombie through the door.
Zombies are very, very hip right now. Maybe we need to remake and reboot that one.
This was really kind of funny. It was a cigar-shaped spaceship that traveled across the screen like that, left a trail of smoke, and 3 of us disembarked, and we stole a pickup truck and a couple of Colt 38 revolvers. We announced we're going to knock Earth out of its orbit. Because we want this orbit. You guys have got a better orbit than we on Mars do. We want this orbit, so you're out of here.
Okay, that was the whole point.
That's right.
Good to know. Well, actually, as we're talking about your early career, when I was doing the research for this panel, you did a lot of episodic TV.
Yes, I did.
That was a part of what went on at that period.
Yes.
Did you ever get the feeling of, I can't remember which Western of the week I'm on?
I suppose at times I did. I did a lot of Westerns. Westerns in the 40s and 50s and early 60s were the stories being told are now being told in science fiction, essentially. The bad guys were the Indians, and when it became politically incorrect to point to the Indians constantly as being the bad guys, we created the Klingons. That's the way it works. You got to have bad guys. So, and the Klingons were a very intelligent, interesting idea, I thought. A very brilliant idea. Anyway, I did a lot of westerns. I was on Rawhide with Clint Eastwood. I was on Gunsmoke with Jim Arness several times. I was on Wagon Train, and I did all of them. In fact, the very last job that I did as an actor before we started filming Star Trek was an episode of Gunsmoke in an episode called The Treasure of John Walking Fox. And I played John Walking Fox, the Indian lead character in that show. And so I've always been useful playing the other, playing the alien type, the person who's other than the typical.
Well, now, the zombie movie,